Hello and welcome to Nothing But the Truth. With Arvind Kejriwal and the Aam Aadmi Party once again at the centre of controversy, my guest today has decided for the first time in public to speak about how he was treated when he was the first Lokpal of the party, and also to speak about some of the other controversies that today surround both Mr. Kejriwal and the Aam Aadmi Party. My guest, of course, is former Navy Chief and Magsaysay Award winner Admiral Ramdas. Admiral Ramdas, let's start with how Arvind Kejriwal and the present leadership of the Aam Aadmi Party treated you when you were Lokpal, before we come to some of the other issues that bring them into controversy. At the end of March, when you were abruptly terminated as Lokpal, you said, and I'm quoting, "I heard today from a reporter that the Aam Aadmi Party no longer requires my services as its internal Lokpal." And then you added, "I am disappointed that the leadership of the party did not accord me the courtesy of informing me first before making this decision public. I still await their phone call." Now, you're a former Navy chief. You're a Magsaysay Award winner. How did you feel at that time?
To be very honest, very disappointed. And I made myself known as to my feelings at the time.
Were you hurt?
I wouldn't say hurt. I was shocked because I did not expect it.
When you say you did not expect it, are you saying you did not expect to be treated in this way by Arvind Kejriwal?
A bit of both. One, the news itself and the manner in which it was treated.
Now, in fact, you said, "I still await their phone call." Did that phone call ever come?
No, but I got an SMS message or a text message, as people would like to call it, late at night, but I was already on a plane early morning, and I only saw it when I landed in Hyderabad the following morning.
This is very interesting. You didn't get a formal letter, you didn't get a phone call, you simply got an SMS message.
That's correct.
So in other words, after it had been made public to the media, after a reporter had given you the news, they followed up late at night with an SMS.
Right.
Did
That's
that
correct.
means of communication, did that means of communication also upset you and shake you?
The long gap after it became public and to the time it got something personal was indeed quite surprising and unexpected.
Many people would say that this was a discourteous and rude way on Arvind Kejriwal's part of treating a former Navy chief, a fellow Magsaysay Award winner.
Well, it could perhaps be interpreted like that by many people, including I myself didn't expect it, as I said. And I suppose it could have been done, as I mentioned in my letter, shown some courtesy about the whole thing.
Now, Arvind Kejriwal, the truth is, personally met you in November 2012 and invited you to be Lokpal. It was at his specific personal request that you took on that task. Did he at any point in time thereafter indicate he was unhappy? Did he at any point indicate that he thought you weren't doing your job properly?
No. Actually, my invitation was extended to me by both Prashant Bhushan and Arvind Kejriwal. And never during my time, until the time I got this message, that ever I was told that he was unhappy. Indeed, the exact opposite was the case.
In fact, the truth of the matter is that when you were appointed, Prashant Bhushan tells me the understanding it was for a year, but when they asked you to do things in the lead up to the general elections of 2014, and then when they asked you to do certain specific things in January 2015, in effect, they were extending your tenure, weren't they?
Well, de facto, that was the situation.
And therefore, you had every reason to believe that they wanted you to continue, that you weren't going to get by SMS a termination message.
Yeah, I least expected it, as I mentioned to you earlier.
In fact, in the statement that you put out on March the 29th, you said the following, I'm going to quote you. On February 15, at an informal meeting at the home of Mr. Kejriwal, in the presence of many other senior leaders of the party, including members of the executive committee, I was actually requested to consider serving an additional 5 years as Lokpal.
Well, the additional 5 years was definitely expressed when I had said that I think I have done enough now, I'm going to take it easy and retire. At that time, this sort of almost unanimous shout of them wanting to have me continue for 5 years came.
This is very interesting. In February, when in fact they asked you informally to continue, it was a result of the fact that you had indicated to them you felt the time had come for you to leave, that you were tired, you wanted to move on. And at that point, rather than accept your wishes, they said, no, sir, please stay 5 years more.
That is correct.
Who was it who made this request? Was it Mr. Kejriwal himself?
No, it was unanimous. The group, about 7, 8 of them were there.
And he was present and hearing?
Of course.
And he didn't demur in any way?
He said nothing.
So he indicated that he was with the mood of the meeting and wanted you to continue?
We say silence is consent.
Absolutely.
So I took it in that form, and there it ended.
What answer did you give them when they asked you informally to consider 5 years more? Did you indicate you were willing to do it?
No, they didn't say anything. They said, "Nahi saab, aap 5 saal aur karenge hamare saath." So I just kept quiet. I said nothing. I did give no response.
But they were insistent you must stay for 5 years more.
Well, let me put it this way, that they thought it would be not such a bad idea if Ramdas continued as the internal Lokpal.
Let's explore some of the possible reasons why suddenly, within a space of just over a month, they went back on everything and changed their mind. Is it possible that one reason why they wanted to terminate you is because in your letter of February to the Political Affairs Committee and the National Executive, you raised the following questions, and I'm quoting you. Can the Chief Minister of the state and the National Convener, if he/she be the same person, be in a position to discharge both duties effectively? Do we need co-conveners? Do you think those questions unsettled Arvind Kejriwal because you were in a sense questioning his continuing in both roles?
No, I had raised these issues because these are relevant to conduct of a party. And I do not know how he interpreted it and in what manner he acted, that we all know subsequently. I would say that this is a question which he must answer, not me, because this is going into the mind of somebody else, and that's very difficult to do.
Did you have any sense of how Arvind Kejriwal took this letter of February and these two questions in particular? Did he indicate whether he was happy these questions were being asked or unhappy?
No, I don't think he ever expressed any such view. But I am very disappointed that a letter which was meant for the National Executive, as you know, got leaked to the press and media. And that really upset me a great deal more than anything else.
Do you think in some way Arvind Kejriwal or people close to him were responsible for the leak?
Must have been only one of the recipients, because it was addressed to all members of the National Executive and also other special invitees.
Now, in that same letter, you raised another critical issue. Once again, I'm going to quote you. There has been criticism within the party regarding decision-making and inner-party democracy. And then you added, during the past 6 to 8 months, there has been an abject breakdown in communications and mutual trust amongst the topmost leadership of the party. Do you think Arvind Kejriwal resented this truth being A, put down on paper, and B, you're saying it needs to now be tackled?
Well, as an elder and as a guide, I have always felt, as I've always done throughout my life, to speak out the truth. And I expressed this, and I had wanted the National Executive to deliberate on these issues, which was the purpose of, because I couldn't travel myself.
But the point I'm asking is this. No doubt you were asking questions that needed to be asked, that needed answers.
Sure.
But in the process, were you unsettling Arvind Kejriwal and those close to him?
May have, I don't know. But then I expect when one is a leader to take things as they come.
And he did not live up to what you think a leader should have done in response to those questions?
Let me put it to you this way, that I apportion blame to everyone in the leadership chain.
Let me put it like this. There's no doubt that your questions unsettled Arvind Kejriwal. They probably rankled with him. But his supporters say that in raising these issues, you were overextending yourself as Lokpal, that you were bringing into your mandate and jurisdiction issues that clearly weren't there. In other words, you were extending your mandate, extending your jurisdiction without the agreement of the Aam Aadmi Party.
Indeed, I have said so myself in the same letter. I gave my not only just performing the duties of a Lokpal per se, but also to see in what way I can act as an elder statesman, elder person who can be of some help and guidance to these people.
But when you gave yourself these additional responsibilities, did you do it with Arvind Kejriwal's concurrence?
No. I took it upon myself as a responsibility and I discharged them.
Except that if you added powers and responsibilities which were not assigned to you, then does Arvind Kejriwal not have the right to object?
No, there was nothing assigned to say, if you look at the Constitution, we have only one thing, and that is the Code of Conduct and various other procedural measures that we are supposed to take.
But do you think Arvind Kejriwal was unhappy with the fact that you were extending and expanding your role without consulting him?
I'm not sure. You should ask him the question.
But did you sense or feel it?
I didn't think so at the time, certainly not. Because as I mentioned earlier, when I was told I'm no longer required as an internal Lokpal, then the thought did strike me that he must be upset about something.
And that something could well be these questions you were asking.
Possible.
Since your termination, have you had any connection with the Aam Aadmi Party or with Arvind Kejriwal?
Let me put it to you this way. I am friends with everybody in the party and who have left the party also. So I meet them, I'm in communications, and I'm a communications expert in my years as a naval man.
So you have been in touch with Arvind Kejriwal since?
Of course I have been.
And do you have an amicable relationship?
Beg your pardon?
Do you have an amicable relationship? Are you able to?
No, we have exchanged some text messages. That's about all. About various developments going on both within what he considers the Aam Aadmi Party and those who have left it.
But has a strain come over the relationship, or is it the same as it used to be?
It's difficult to say. Little more time is needed to make that assessment.
Let's come, Admiral Ramdas, to other issues. Let's widen our discussion. How do you view the way Arvind Kejriwal has treated Yogendra Yadav and Prashant Bhushan? First, they were expelled from the Political Affairs Committee, then from the National Executive. Finally, they were expelled from the membership of the party. How do you view the way they've been treated?
I think constitutionally the procedures were not followed. And especially members of the National Executive, they have to be charged with whatever charges they have against them, and the internal Lokpal is the final arbiter of that particular charge. Unfortunately, this never came in front of me, and of course, the following day, the whole thing had been changed. The drama had been enacted.
So, in other words, the expulsion of these two gentlemen, first from the PAC, then from the National Executive, and finally from the party itself, is unconstitutional.
No, PAC is okay, but the National Executive and subsequent removal from the National Executive itself should have been in front of the internal Lokpal.
And that never happened?
That never happened.
And so therefore it was unconstitutional?
True. Yep.
And the expulsion from the party, that is unconstitutional as well?
No, that is okay from the national... we had the National Council meeting. National Council is the supreme body of the party. And you must know that I was and never am or have been a member of the party.
Absolutely.
I'm outside the party.
But you made a very important point. Even if the expulsion from the Political Affairs Committee and from the membership were okay, the expulsion from the National Executive was done unconstitutionally.
That's right.
In your subsequent communication with Arvind Kejriwal, have you pointed this out to him?
No, not yet.
When you say not yet, you intend to?
May not.
Now, recently, Arvind Kejriwal and the Aam Aadmi Party seem to have got locked into a conflict with the Lieutenant Governor over who has powers to appoint an acting Chief Secretary in Delhi. That's where it started. It's escalated thereafter. Prashant Bhushan believes that Arvind Kejriwal is spoiling for a fight because the challenge of being Chief Minister of Delhi is one that he's not capable of fulfilling. And therefore, he's spoiling for a fight because he wants to be dismissed in the belief this will give him a sympathy wave to bounce back. Do you share that line of thinking?
No, I don't. I think each one has his own reasons. And we, when I say we, I mean my own reading of the situation is that the Chief Minister of this state, I mean, it's a very unique position, unlike any other state in the country or any other union territory, as we often hear this word. And I think this is a constitutional matter and interpretations are different. So only a competent authority like a constitutional bench will have to give its verdict.
In other words, you're not taking sides in this dispute between the LG and the Chief Minister?
No, because the person or persons who will decide and say who is right and who is wrong is only the Supreme Court.
Until the Supreme Court gives its verdict, you don't wish to opine on the matter.
How can anybody in this land opine anything once the Supreme Court decides?
Once the Supreme Court. Yes, once the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
But at the moment, in the run-up...
So it is still what you call sub judice, let me put it this way.
Let's come to Arvind Kejriwal's handling of senior civil servants. There have been two issues that have attracted adverse attention in the media. First, at a public rally, he said of Shakuntala Gamblin, who was at the time acting Chief Secretary, that she was favouring DISCOMs and that he would check and double-check every file that passed through her hands. Many people felt that this was a deliberate attempt to bring the acting Chief Secretary into disrepute. Should a Chief Minister have spoken in this way of the acting Chief Secretary, knowing that the lady in question can't then publicly defend herself? Service rules don't allow her to do so. Should he have spoken in this way?
Let's put it this way. I would apportion much of this to the kind of lack of mutual trust between the Lieutenant Governor in the first instance having appointed somebody, which was in no tearing hurry. When somebody is absent for 8 days, you take leave, I take leave. Usually number two takes charge, whoever it is, he or she. In this particular case, I didn't see any great urgency for the LG to step in and appoint somebody, and that to a person who is not recommended or wished for by the Chief Minister. What's the hurry?
That point I understand.
Yeah.
But in this instance, Arvind Kejriwal wasn't getting back at the governor.
Yeah, but that's
he
where
was actually targeting the acting Chief Secretary, a lady who can't defend herself because service rules don't allow it.
You see,
was that right?
Yeah, the bureaucracy can't defend itself in public, but it can certainly defend itself within the system, and there are ways and means of doing it.
But the question I'm asking is this: should the Chief Minister have spoken in public about the acting Chief Secretary in this way?
I think was a part of indiscretion, but could well be politically a convenient thing to do. I don't know.
But it was an indiscretion by the Chief Minister?
I think so.
What about
I think he could have expressed his unhappiness to the Lieutenant Governor.
In other words, he could have handled the situation differently?
Of course. Any situation can be handled differently.
Do you think he handled the situation poorly?
Shall I put it this way, that this could have been done better?
What about the fact that the Chief Minister also has been locking offices, thus not permitting senior civil servants like Anandu Majumdar to attend their office? They went and they found the office doors locked.
You know, I do not know. I only seen what I've seen in the media. And there, one side claims it was locked by them, and their own spokesperson, I heard him, Mr. Raghav, he had said, no, it is not true. He had another office, and the place was locked because there was no point in one gentleman sitting in two different spaces. Now, I do not know which one to believe. You may say, well, do I think it is so? I don't know. This will have to be factually confirmed and ascertained You might think that I'm trying to be, no, I'm not ducking your question. I'm making very clear. Very difficult to say who's right and who's wrong.
Let me end this particular section by putting a question to you. Many civil servants, both serving, but they only say this privately, and retired, who say it publicly, believe that Arvind Kejriwal has not handled Delhi-based civil servants with the discretion, the tact and finesse that is expected of a chief minister.
Well, many people much more senior than that have mishandled situations concerning bureaucrats and service officers in the past. Let me end that as an answer.
Which suggests that if Arvind Kejriwal has mishandled civil servants, there is a long line of politicians who've done it. He's not different to them.
No, and precisely that is why this whole party had emerged as a new political change we hope to bring about.
That's what I want to come on to now in the last 5 minutes. Aam Aadmi Party was supposed to be a new form of politics.
Absolutely.
It was supposed to be the revitalization of our politics. It was supposed to put morality back at the center of politics.
That's right.
Has it lived up to those expectations?
See, this continues to be the objective, the mission and the vision. Now, everyone is not lost that identity or that objective. The question is, many people are making it come across as though the whole thing is collapsed and the situation is different. But this country needs people.
But is Arvind Kejriwal fulfilling that expectation?
We don't know. Did Lal Bahadur Shastri, did we ever hear of him before he became Prime Minister of India? These things happen, you know. Somebody will come up. It may not be Arvind Kejriwal, it may be X or Y, but this country needs a change. And
that I accept, but I'm coming back to Arvind Kejriwal, who's meant to be the vehicle of the change. Is he
Indeed, I thought so. Indeed, I thought so. And I still believe, you know...
When you say thought so, do you not think so today?
No, I don't mean that. I said I thought so when I joined and accepted the offer and invitation.
And what's your thinking today?
No, my thing is that some more time must roll. After all, so many political parties, we have had such splinters and splinter groups. We have never made much noise about it in the past.
So you're prepared
today, in 2 years, 2.5 years' time, we are getting all so upset and all very upset.
So you're prepared to give Arvind Kejriwal and the Aam Aadmi Party time to fulfill the expectations?
Absolutely. They have an obligation to the Delhi's electorate. 1. 2, that's on one level, and those who have left like Yogendra and Prashant Bhushan are continuing the walk in the rest of the country. They are walking around. But what may happen in the future, God only knows.
Many people in the media, outside the media, in politics, are disillusioned with Arvind Kejriwal and the way the Aam Aadmi Party is functioning. You don't seem to share that disillusionment, even though you've suffered at their hands.
Obviously, I mean, I still believe, and as I said, perhaps age is on my side, and I think things will settle, because if one continues to, run down people just because they made 1 or 2 or 3 mistakes, I think we are not looking at the positives of such people in any organization. You must be in a position to get the best out of the people.
I'm interrupting you, but that means that for you, the positives of Arvind Kejriwal still outweigh the negatives.
I don't say outweigh or weigh. I'm still waiting to see how Mr. Kejriwal behaves, how Mr. Prashant Bhushan continues in his work.
So the jury is out.
And Yogendra Yadav continue in his work. I have said so. I'll tell you. I said, if we have to apportion blame, we have to apportion blame to everybody. And the way they washed their dirty linen in public was most uncalled for.
My last question. Many people fear that Arvind Kejriwal is turning into a supremo. Some who are unkind say he has become a bit of a megalomaniac. Others say he's fond of power and keeps it closely like this.
He may be learning from someone else in the country. I don't know.
It's very interesting, Admiral Ramdas, that although you've suffered at his hands, you were terminated without cause and reason, treated discourteously, you still retain your hope and expectation that Arvind will ultimately not disappoint you.
Not Arvind. This country deserves a change and a level of integrity which at the moment is a combination of all these people and others in there who can, I hope, will deliver.
So Arvind still is someone who in your eyes can deliver?
Maybe, who knows?
All right, on that note, a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you.